Hello, friends, and welcome back to Stories About Entitled People. Let's start our video with a story about another neighbor who listens to no one but herself. But before we begin, don't forget to subscribe to our channel if you're new here and turn on notifications so you don't miss a new video every single day. Here we go. I want my bedroom painted blue no matter what. Okay. This happened over a decade ago. My dad works for a government-associated oil company, and we used to live in a company-provided accommodation. A lot of maintenance like plumbing, electrician, carpenters, etc. were done by the company-appointed vendors since they were on a contract. The company was up for a new painter contractor, and we had a couple vendors lined up for the job. Since our house is up for a new paint job, my mom decided to let the company test one of the vendors by letting them paint in our home. We'll call him Painter X. Now, Painter X wanted to impress my mom and the company, so he let us pick whatever colors we wanted for all the rooms, so we did. White for the kitchen, eggshell for the living room, lavender for mine, and so on. The company was impressed, and he was hired. Now, one particular neighbor of ours, Mrs. Will Not Listen, loved our home's colors and requested for Painter X to also paint different colors for each of her rooms. Unfortunately, all homes were being painted an off-white color in all the rooms, since that was a fairly standard color everyone could work with. But Mrs. Will Not Listen demanded she get a custom paint job because we did. She absolutely wanted blue in her bedroom no matter what it took. The painter read his contract and it said all homes to be painted a single color, so he did what he could to give the lady blue in her bedroom. He painted the whole home blue, including the bathrooms, kitchens, everything. It wasn't even a pastel blue. I'm not sure why she couldn't stop him, but her house remained that way for another 5 years before the apartments were up for a touch-up as per the contract. And our next story. Coworker gets me fired. My many years waiting for revenge. If revenge is best served cold, then my revenge was many years in the freezer. And this week was finally pulled out and had whipped cream and a cherry put on top before finally served. Background. So I worked for Company A for almost a decade that had a small team consisting of 10 people doing commissioned work for businesses in my city. After working there for years, the manager position came open, since by then I was one of the most senior workers with Company A, so I thought I'd apply, which had a few others interested do as well. I didn't get the position. Mainly because, despite my experience at Company A, I didn't have a business administration degree. Someone who worked for owner did, so he got it. Realizing the education I would have to get and the demand of this job, I thought long and hard and concluded that if I wanted to go anywhere in life, I'd have to get that degree. I talked to the owner and gave my 2 weeks' notice. When I explained what I wanted to do and why, he understood that I was trying to make something of myself. This all becomes relevant later, I promise. Going to university, I found that I had tuition covered through government grants, but not things like food, rent, etc., so I looked around and eventually found work at Company B. Company B was a retail store with a bigger staff than I had been used to, somewhere around 50 employees, but had such a huge employee turnaround that it was scary at times. They dealt with a wide range of goods, from groceries to very expensive items. They had a certain niche clientele that they could order items for and cater to. I ended up working part-time in their warehouse and answered to the warehouse supervisor, who answered to the manager. There were other supervisors for other parts of the store, but for this only the sales supervisor is relevant. Skip forward 7 years, and this time I got my BA degree and worked at Company B the whole time, going from part-time to full, and eventually applied for the warehouse supervisor position. I was interviewed, got the job, been supervisor for months when the manager and I hired Kay as a warehouse clerk. Kay isn't the one to get the revenge, but she played a crucial role in the revenge. Then B gets hired. B started out as a cashier, working quickly up the chain and brown-nosing as many coworkers as possible, including the manager. When a sales rep went on maternity leave, B quickly jumped at the chance to work in sales and ended up permanently being a part of that team, then the sales supervisor soon after. Me and B got along like oil and water. We butted heads over things constantly. She'd tell the manager all the small things that I did, but called me a snitch when I reported the issues she was causing. She would badmouth me and my warehouse staff, talk over me at meetings, and try to take credit for my ideas. She openly told coworkers that I was the cause of many issues and couldn't wait for me to leave. Oh, and she was never at fault. It would be the customer's fault, my fault, the delivery driver's fault, another coworker's fault, etc. There were times when we got together well, but far and few between. I get fired. So one day, a very, and I mean very expensive ring set, over $5,000 I found out later, ordered by one of our customers comes in. Years ago, I set up a procedure for any type of jewelry so that it will not get lost or stolen. The last step is, once we've done everything with it in the warehouse, we take it to the office and have someone put it in the safe immediately. This particular time, I was the one who received the rings, so once going through the procedure, told Kay that I was taking it to the office. The only one available who had the combination to the safe was B. I asked her if she could open the safe. She looked at me, looked at the jewelry box in my hand, and said, "Put it down here on my desk. I'll put it away once I'm done with this email." Keep in mind that me and B had a serious spat over something earlier that day, and I generally didn't feel like being close to her, if I could help it, so I never saw her put it in the safe myself. The next day, I get a call from the manager to come to the office. I head there to find manager, B, and the HR consultant they pull in when some real crap hits the fan. Manager tells me that said ring set has disappeared. I tell them the procedure I followed, and last I saw them was with B. Manager tells me that B checked the box and that the box was empty. Manager then pulls the box out. Sure enough, the box the rings were in was indeed empty. I swear to manager that the rings were inside when I checked them before giving to B. At this point, it's my word against hers. By stroke of bad luck, the in-store video recorder had broken down days before the incident, so there was no way to verify what happened. We all know someone has to take the blame for this, and that's when B strikes, saying that it was my fault, since it was last seen in my hands. Manager asks if this is true, then I realize that, yes, I was indeed the last person to touch the ring. I go back to the warehouse, tell Kay and the other warehouse clerks just what happened, grab my personal belongings, and left that day. After a couple weeks of trying to get my head around what had happened and weighing my options, I call the owner of Company A and get a good reference from them and explain what happened and why I was calling, only to get the shock of a lifetime. The manager position was about to be open. The guy who I lost the position to was retiring soon due to complicated health reasons. Owner had kept tabs on me while at university and understood when I didn't immediately come back to him, but with a golden opportunity like this, he wanted me back, and I wasn't going to say no. I dive into my new job I originally wanted with an owner I enjoyed working for. I thought, then and there, everything would be behind me, not knowing it had come back, not to bite me, but to pay dividends. The revenge. Kay's side. This I found out after B's reckoning. After I was fired, Kay knew she had to do something about B. Kay knew that I wouldn't lose or steal something like the rings. She started hanging out with B, telling her things like, "I'm so glad he's gone," or "wish he'd been fired much earlier." B, feeling high from getting rid of one of her thorns in her side, soaked it all in, and after a couple weeks invited Kay and Kay's husband, from now on KH, for drinks at her place with her and B's husband, BH. Months pass, Kay and KH do things regularly with B and BH, including drinking on weekends and couple-related events. When together, Kay would occasionally badmouth me, and B would agree. Finally, after over a year of playing nice, when Kay and KH were over at B's for one of their drinking parties, Kay randomly badmouthed me, mentioning the rings in passing. Then B says something that Kay was waiting for. I wanted those rings, so I stole them. Kay, hearing this, asks for more details. KH looks at her and tries to wave her off with one hand, then gives up when B keeps talking. That day, B had stopped writing her email and was going to put the rings in the safe. The safe was open, and she was about to put the rings away when B had an idea. See, as mentioned above, B wanted me gone from Company B. She also wanted those rings. She also knew that the cameras weren't working. She figured that she could pocket the rings, tell the manager they were missing, and spin it so I would take the blame. Kay then asks, "Where are the rings now?" And B, being too drunk and not seeing a reason not to brag, not only tells her, but shows her where they are in her room. All while KH has been recording the whole conversation on his phone. The hand waving was him saying that he started recording. Kay gives a copy of the recording to manager the next workday. Police are called immediately. B is arrested and her house is raided. They find the rings, K and KH give the recording and testimonies to police. B's reckoning has begun. Revenge, my side. I get a call from the prosecutor's office after B is arrested and charged with theft over $5,000, among other things. He wants me to testify about what she did to me. I didn't skip a beat in saying yes. Fast track to the trial, prosecutor has me, K, and KH testify and plays the recording of B admitting that she stole them. Her attorney tries to throw out the case, saying that K got B deliberately drunk, but judge didn't buy it since there was proof she drank all the time. Judge was lenient and gave her 5 years in prison, which she yelled was unfair. But I personally thought she got off easy. Meanwhile, as the trial was happening, I was talking with a lawyer to sue B for setting me up like she did. We were also going to sue Company B for wrongful termination, but they settled the day they got notice of the lawsuit and knew they would lose. B wasn't so lucky. They tried some trickery by having BH divorce her, and he received everything in the divorce, but my lawyer added him to the lawsuit as well. My lawyer asked overall for $3,500 for emotional distress, back pay from when I was fired until I started with Company A again, and legal fees. And now you're wondering where the metaphoric cherry is in this story? Well, recently we had someone leave Company A, so we were hiring someone to replace them. Owner was going over the resumes and set up interviews for the job this week. Lo and behold, B was one of the people to apply. But he didn't know that. I looked at the resume, he was about to trash it, but then smiled. Owner set up the interview. She came in at her slotted time, looking to brown-nose her way through. Then she saw me. I smiled an evil smile. She went white. All I said was, "Ah, B, how are you? Remember me?" A deer-in-the-headlight look from her. I looked at her resume and say, "I'm sorry. I don't think you'll be a good fit for our company. Thank you for applying." She said not one word and left. Hey guys, thank you all for watching the video. I'll see you in the next one.